The morning started like any other in my little Seattle cafe, the air thick with the scent of fresh coffee and warm pastries. I was wiping down the espresso machine, its sleek metal cool under my cloth, when my world began to unravel. Tucked behind the machine, caught in a crevice, was a crumpled receipt. I smoothed it out, expecting a stray order slip, but the words hit me like a punch. Nordstrom, $62,000, charged to my business account. Sarah's signature scrawled at the bottom. My best friend. My accountant. My heart stopped. I stood there, frozen, the cloth dangling from my hand. The morning sun poured through the cafe's wide windows, casting golden streaks across the wooden floor. It felt too bright, too cheerful for the betrayal staring up at me. This had to be a mistake. Sarah wouldn't do this. Not to me, not to the dream we'd built together. For years ago, I'd poured every penny of my savings into this place, the Morning Brew. Every recipe, every chair, every late night spent perfecting the menu. It was mine. Ours. She handled the numbers so I could focus on the heart of it. How could she? My hands trembled as I smoothed the receipt again, hoping the ink would rearrange itself into something less devastating. It didn't. The date was recent, just last month. My mind raced, grasping for explanations. Maybe it was a clerical error, a mix-up with another account. But deep down I knew. Sarah's signature was unmistakable, her looping S as familiar as my own handwriting. I shoved the receipt into my apron pocket, my throat tightening. The bell above the door chimed, and a regular stepped in, smiling, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. "Morning, Jessica," she called, her voice warm. I forced a smile, nodding as I moved to the counter. The routine grounded me: grind the beans, steam the milk, pour the latte. But each motion felt hollow, like I was playing a part. The cafe hummed with its usual rhythm. The hiss of the espresso machine, the clink of mugs, the soft chatter of early customers. They came for comfort, for their daily dose of caffeine and community. They trusted this place. I trusted Sarah. And now that trust was crumbling. I glanced at the window, where the sunlight glinted off the glass, mocking me with its clarity. For years of sweat and hope, all tied to this cafe. Sarah had been there from the start, cheering me on, balancing the books while I dreamed up new blends. She was the practical one, the one who made sense of the numbers I avoided. I'd handed her the keys to my finances without a second thought. How could I have been so blind? The receipt burned in my pocket, a silent accusation. I needed answers, but the thought of confronting her made my stomach twist. What if there was more? What if this was just the beginning? The receipt in my pocket felt like a live wire, buzzing with questions I wasn't ready to answer. I moved through the morning rush at the Morning Brew, pouring lattes and forcing smiles, but my mind was elsewhere. Behind the counter, I rifled through a drawer of papers, hoping to find something to disprove the betrayal. Instead, I found more. A stack of receipts, tucked beneath a pile of vendor invoices, each one a dagger. First-class tickets to New York, a five-star hotel in San Francisco, designer dresses from Nordstrom, all charged to my business account. Sarah's name was on every one, hidden under vague labels like business expenses. My dream, my cafe, was bleeding out, and she was the one holding the knife. I sank onto a stool, the papers spread across the counter like a crime scene. The numbers blurred as my eyes stung. How had I missed this? I'd trusted Sarah to keep the books clean while I focused on perfecting our signature cold brew. She'd always been the organized one, the one who laughed at my messy receipts and promised to handle everything. And I'd let her. The bell chimed, and Hannah, my barista, breezed in, hanging her coat on the rack. "Morning, boss," she called, her smile bright. But it faded when she saw my face. "Jessica, what's wrong?" Her voice was soft, concerned. I couldn't speak. My throat felt like it had been sealed shut. Instead, I pushed the pile of receipts toward her. Hannah's eyes widened as she flipped through them, her breath catching. "Oh my God," she whispered. "How did this happen?" I shook my head, the weight of it all pressing down on me. The cafe filled with regulars, lawyers from the firm down the street, nurses off the night shift, students cramming for exams. They wanted their cappuccinos and scones, their slice of morning comfort. They had no idea the morning brew was drowning in debt, that every dollar they spent was a mockery of the trust I'd placed in Sarah. My phone buzzed, Sarah's name flashing on the screen. A photo of us from opening day, toasting with cheap champagne, grinned back at me. I let it go to voicemail. Hannah watched me, her brow furrowed. "Did you call the cops?" she asked. I shook my head again. Sarah had covered her tracks too well, every expense looked legitimate on paper. I'd signed off on reports without a second glance because I trusted her. A bitter laugh escaped me, sharp as burnt espresso. "I'm such an idiot." Hannah's hand rested on my arm. "You're not an idiot. She was your best friend." The words stung worse than the receipts. Best friend. Sarah and I had shared everything: late-night dreams, bad breakups, the thrill of opening this cafe. Now she was stealing it all away. My phone buzzed again, a text this time. "Jessica, I can explain. Meet me at Green Lake Park at noon. I have a plan to fix this." My finger hovered over the screen. Hannah's voice cut through my haze. "Delete it. Whatever she's scheming, it's not worth hearing." She was right. I knew she was right. But my heart wasn't ready to let go, not yet. I slipped the phone into my pocket, the weight of her words pulling me under. The cafe hummed around me, but I was lost in memories, each one sharper than the last. Sarah's text burned in my mind, her promise to explain at Green Lake Park twisting like a blade. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, that my best friend hadn't shattered everything. But the receipts in my pocket told a different story. I leaned against the counter at the morning brew, the familiar scent of coffee grounding me as I drifted back to the beginning. Sarah and I met in college, bonding over late-night talks and cheap wine. We'd sketch out dreams of owning a cafe, laughing at how we'd make it the heart of Seattle. Those dreams became real when I scraped together enough for the deposit on this place. Sarah was the first person I called. We painted these walls together, arguing over whether sage green was too trendy. We spent weeks hunting for the perfect mismatched mugs, celebrating every small victory with takeout pizza and bad pop music. She was there for every milestone: our first customer, our first 5-star review. The morning brew wasn't just a business, it was us. How had it come to this? I trusted her with the numbers because I hated them. She'd tease me about my crumpled receipts, promising to keep everything tidy. And I'd believed her. Now, that trust felt like a cruel joke. I'd signed reports without checking, blind to the truth because I thought she had my back. My hands clenched, nails digging into my palms. The bell chimed, snapping me back. Hannah was watching me, her eyes soft with worry. "Jessica, you okay?" she asked. I shook my head, the words stuck in my throat. "She was my best friend," I finally said, echoing Hannah's earlier words. They tasted like ash. Hannah stepped closer, her voice firm. "You didn't do this." "She did. You're not the fool here." But I felt like one. Every memory of Sarah, her laugh, her quick hugs, her knack for fixing my messes now seemed like a lie. Had she been planning this from the start? The cafe was quieting down, the morning rush fading, but my heart raced. I needed answers, needed to see her face when she tried to explain. Hannah's voice cut through my thoughts. "Don't go to that park, Jessica. She doesn't deserve it." I met her gaze, seeing the fierce loyalty there. But I couldn't let this go, not without hearing Sarah's voice, her excuses. "I have to," I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. "I need to know why she'd burn everything we built." Hannah sighed, but she didn't argue. I grabbed my jacket, the receipt still heavy in my pocket. The door's cheerful jingle felt wrong as I stepped out, the Seattle air cool against my skin. Green Lake Park was waiting, and so was Sarah. I wasn't sure what I'd find their answers, lies, or something worse. But I knew one thing. Whatever she said, it wouldn't erase the truth. The morning brew was my heart, and I'd fight for it, even if it meant facing the person I used to love most. Green Lake Park was quiet, the water still under a gray Seattle sky. I stood by the path, clutching my jacket, waiting for Sarah. Noon came and went. She didn't show. The betrayal stung sharper now, her absence a final twist of the knife. I walked back to the morning brew, each step heavy with the weight of her silence. By the time I reached my apartment that evening, a pile of demand letters waited like vultures at my door. Overdue notices, maxed out credit cards, bounced supplier payments. My business was a sinking ship, and my personal account had been drained to keep it afloat. Sarah's handiwork was everywhere. I sank to the floor, envelopes scattered around me. The cafe's second mortgage stared up from one document, a forgery of my signature so perfect it mocked me. I hadn't even known you could remortgage without consent. Fraud, plain and simple, but proving it felt impossible. My phone buzzed, and I ignored it, too raw to face another lie. Then a knock at the door. "Jessica, it's Hannah." Her voice was soft, but firm. I opened the door, and she stepped in, carrying a paper bag. The smell of coffee and almond croissants filled the room, a small comfort. She set them down, her eyes scanning the sea of red-stamped notices. "When do you sleep?" she asked, half joking, half worried. I grabbed a croissant, its buttery layers melting on my tongue. "Did you know she remortgaged the cafe?" I said, my voice hollow. "Without me. I didn't think that could happen." Hannah's jaw tightened. "That's outright fraud. But good luck proving it." She was right. Sarah's forgeries were meticulous, down to the way I dotted my I's. I laughed, a jagged sound that hurt my throat. Hannah sat beside me, her shoulder warm against mine. "We'll figure this out," she said. But the numbers were relentless. $175,000 in debt, due by month's end, or the bank would seize everything. Another knock, this time sharper. "Jessica Miller?" A man's voice, cold and official. "Nathan Brooks, Collections Department." My heart sank. He slid a notice under the door, detailing missed payments and legal threats. Hannah grabbed my hand, her voice fierce. "They can't take the cafe. We won't let them." But the threat hung like smoke, suffocating. I needed a plan, something to fight back. On impulse, I dialed Zoe, another cafe owner I'd met at a local business meetup. She'd always been sharp, a survivor in this cutthroat industry. "Zoe, it's Jessica," I said when she answered. "I need your help. Sarah's been stealing." Zoe didn't hesitate. "Meet me at my place in Capitol Hill tomorrow. I've got something you need to see." Her tone was grim, promising answers. I hung up, a spark of hope flickering. Hannah watched me, her eyes searching. "What's the plan?" she asked. I didn't have one, not yet, but Zoe's call felt like a lifeline. "I'm done reacting," I said, my voice steadier now. "Sarah thinks she's won, but I'm not out of moves." The croissant sat half-eaten, the coffee cold. Outside, Seattle's rain tapped against the window, steady as a heartbeat. I stood, brushing crumbs from my lap. Tomorrow, I'd start fighting for my cafe, for myself. Zoe's cafe in Capitol Hill buzzed with the kind of energy I used to feel at the morning brew. The air smelled of roasted beans and fresh sourdough, a reminder of what I was fighting for. I sat at a corner table, my hands wrapped around an oat milk cappuccino Zoe had made without asking. She remembered my order, a small gesture that steadied me. 8 months ago, Zoe began, sliding her phone across the table. Sarah started coming here during my busiest hours. The photo was grainy but clear. Sarah, leaning close to a man in a sharp suit, papers spread between them. My chest tightened. I recognized the documents, our original lease for the morning brew. "That's Michael Carter," Zoe said, her voice low. "Big shot developer buying up half of Seattle." She leaned back, arms crossed. "Sarah's been working with him since before your money troubles started. They planned it all: siphon your funds, pile on debt, force you to sell cheap." The cappuccino turned bitter on my tongue. Sarah had orchestrated everything: the stolen $62,000, the forged mortgage, the lies. Carter would turn my cafe into another soulless condo tower, and Sarah would pocket a commission. My fists clenched under the table, nails biting into my palms. Zoe's eyes softened, but her tone stayed firm. "I got the same offer from Carter, 3 times market value for my place." I said no. She gestured around her cafe, its walls lined with local art, its tables packed with regulars. "This isn't just a business. It's community history. Sarah doesn't get that." Her words hit hard, echoing my own love for the morning brew. I'd built it to be a haven, not a paycheck. Sarah's betrayal wasn't just personal, it was a violation of everything we dreamed together. Why tell me this? I asked, my voice rough. We're competitors. My failure's your gain. Zoe's face flickered with something sharp anger, maybe. Carter tried to strong-arm me too. I don't play that game. And honestly, she paused, her gaze steady. I like you, Jessica. You've got heart. That's worth more than a quick buck. Her words sparked something in me, a dangerous, enticing idea. Sarah thought she could manipulate me, but she'd taught me a lesson. Never show all your cards. I sipped the cappuccino, the warmth spreading through me. What if we turn her game against her? I said, barely above a whisper. Zoe's eyebrows raised, a slow smile creeping across her face. You're thinking like a strategist now. She pulled out her phone again, scrolling through more photos, timestamps, meetings, proof of Sarah's deals with Carter. It wasn't enough to fix the damage, but it was leverage. I could expose her, ruin her plan. My phone buzzed, a text from Sarah. Developer needs an answer by Friday. Please, Jessica, this is your way out. I stared at the screen, my resolve hardening. Zoe was right, there was another way. And I was done playing Sarah's victim. The morning brew was dark, save for the soft glow of a single lamp behind the counter. I'd asked Sarah to meet me after closing, just us, like old times. The air felt heavy, thick with the scent of coffee and the ghosts of our friendship. When the door chimed, Sarah stepped in, rain-soaked and flanked by 3 men in suits, Michael Carter's lawyers, their faces blank as stone. One carried a briefcase, its contents a threat I already knew. Sarah's tailored blazer clung to her frame, her eyes shadowed with fatigue. For a moment, I saw the girl I'd known in college, but the stack of Zoe's evidence in my pocket burned away any pity. Time to close this, Jessica, Sarah said, her voice sharp, a razor wrapped in silk. She nodded to the man with the briefcase, who spread documents across my favorite corner table, mismatched mugs still stacked nearby. The bank's called in your debt. Sign these, and Carter's offer clears it all. You walk away with enough to start over. Lightning flashed outside, casting harsh shadows across her face. I barely recognized her, this stranger who'd once painted these walls with me. Bankruptcy's messy, she added, shrugging. This is clean. I gripped the counter, my knuckles white. Clean? You mean the $175,000 you stole, the forged mortgage, the lies you buried in my books? Her smile faltered, but she pressed on. You were drowning, Jessica. The cafe was failing, empty tables, rising costs. I gave you a way out. Her words cut deep, stirring doubts I'd buried. Had I missed the signs? The memory of bounced checks and sleepless nights flickered, but I pushed it aside. This wasn't about my mistakes, it was about her betrayal. I paced slowly around the counter, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I spent days planning to destroy you, Sarah. To hurt you like you hurt me. I paused, letting the weight of my words settle. But standing here in my cafe, with its worn tables and chipped mugs, I just feel sorry for you. Her eyes narrowed, but I kept going. You've never built anything. Never poured your soul into something and watched it grow. You only know how to take. I reached under the counter, pulling out a thick stack of papers, not Zoe's evidence, but letters from customers, neighbors, even Zoe herself. While you were scheming, I built an army to save this place. Sarah scoffed, but her hands trembled. Sentiment doesn't pay bills. I stepped closer, my voice low. Community investment does. The Morning Brew is now a co-op, 51% owned by the people who love it. Papers were filed this morning. Her face paled as she grabbed her phone, scrolling frantically. A press release confirmed it, buzzing through Seattle's news feeds. The suits shifted, uncomfortable, their plan unraveling. Carter can't touch a community-owned business without a public fight, I said. Months of hearings, bad press. And once Zoe's tapes of your meetings hit the internet, he'll run. Sarah's breath hitched, her eyes darting to the lawyers. I can fight this, she whispered, but her voice cracked. I leaned in, close enough to smell her perfume. You could, but you won't. My tone softened, a flicker of the old Jessica breaking through. Somewhere, you remember what this place meant to us. Tears welled in her eyes, and for a moment I thought she'd break. Instead, she turned to the suits. "We're done." They gathered their papers and left, the door's jingle swallowed by thunder. Sarah paused, rain tapping the glass behind her. "I love this place," she said softly. "I know," I replied, my voice heavy. "That's why it hurts." The morning brew sparkled under Seattle's morning sun, its fresh paint glowing while keeping the cozy charm I loved. The new espresso machine hummed beside Old Faithful, blending progress with tradition. The cafe buzzed with life, regulars chatted with new faces, local art adorned the walls, and a community board brimmed with neighborhood events. 2 oat milk lattes for Claire. Hannah called, her voice cutting through the chatter. Claire, a regular since our first week, grabbed her drinks, pausing to admire the changes. "It's still home," she said, smiling, "but somehow better." I nodded, my heart full. That was the plan. Zoe walked in, carrying a box of her artisanal sourdough, the scent mingling with my cold brew. Our weekly trade her loaves for my coffee had survived the chaos and grown stronger, like us. "Packed house," she noted, sliding the box onto the counter. I poured her usual cappuccino, grinning. Shared ownership does that. People feel invested. Heat crept up my cheeks as Hannah handed me an envelope, Sarah's familiar handwriting on the front. "You don't have to open it," Hannah whispered. But I needed closure. Inside was a resignation letter from Sarah's job at the development firm, copied for me, and a note. "You were right about building, not taking. I'm starting over somewhere new. No apologies, just thought you should know. P.S. Check the loose floorboard in the storage room." I tucked the letter away, my eyes drifting to the storage room. The air smelled of coffee beans and dust. Under a loose floorboard, I found a small notebook, its pages yellowed. It was our original business plan, Sarah's neat handwriting beside my messy scribbles, coffee stains marking our dreams. Tucked inside was a photo, 2 college girls, Sarah and me, raising champagne glasses, eyes bright with possibility. My throat tightened. Hannah's voice startled me. She held up a stack of papers, bank statements, transfer records hidden behind cleaning supplies. "She left proof," Hannah said, "of what she and Carter did. Insurance, maybe, or a sign Sarah wasn't entirely lost." I stared at the evidence, then the notebook, both relics of a different life. Without a word, I walked to the industrial sink. Cold water ran clear as I tore the papers, ink dissolving like old wounds. I didn't need revenge, I needed to build. Back at the counter, Zoe was helping Hannah with orders, as if she belonged here. The morning rush slowed, and I pulled a perfect espresso, its bittersweet aroma like a promise. My dream had changed, stronger, shared, rooted in community. Some tear things apart, I chose to create. Sunlight caught the new sign beneath the Morning Brew's name, its small letters spelling our pledge, to grow together, every day. I reached for another cup, ready for the stories, the drinks, the moments still to come. This was just the beginning.